Captain Jake Morrison stood quietly on the bridge of the New Horizon as the massive alien warship appeared on their screens. The ship was enormous and shaped like a giant blade cutting through space. Red lights pulsed along its dark hull and weapon ports glowed with threatening energy. Jake had seen many things during his 15 years exploring space, but nothing like this monster that now blocked their path home. Communications Officer Lisa Chang worked quickly at her station while sweat formed on her forehead. The alien signals were strong and demanding. Her translation software worked hard to decode the harsh sounds that came through their speakers. She looked up at Jake with worry in her eyes as the meaning became clear. "Captain, they are ordering us to surrender immediately," Lisa said with a shaky voice. "They want to know what species we are, and they are demanding access to our ship databases. The message says resistance will result in total destruction." Science Officer Alex Kim studied his instruments with growing concern. The alien ship was putting out massive amounts of energy, and its weapon systems were clearly far beyond anything humans had faced before. But something about the readings made him think. The technology was impressive, but it followed patterns that human scientists had predicted years ago. "Captain, their ship is powerful, but their energy signatures match our theoretical models," Alex said quietly so only Jake could hear. "They are using conventional fusion drives and standard particle beam weapons. Very advanced, but nothing we have not prepared for." Jake nodded slowly as he watched the alien ship move closer. The red giant warship was beautiful in a deadly way, but he had seen the secret files that only a few humans knew about. Earth had been preparing for this day for much longer than anyone could imagine. The technology on their small exploration ship was not what it appeared to be. "Lisa, send them our standard first contact package," Jake ordered calmly. "Include all the basic information about human civilization and our technical specifications. Make sure to send the complete data about our ship design and weapon systems." Lisa looked surprised at the order. "Sir, are you sure we should give them detailed information about our technology? That seems dangerous." "Trust me, Lisa," Jake said with a small smile. "Send them everything they ask for. Include the full technical readouts of our fusion engines and our basic defensive systems. Be very thorough and very honest about what we appear to be capable of." On the alien bridge, Admiral Korath studied the human vessel with growing amusement. The ship was tiny compared to his mighty dreadnought and appeared to be built from simple metal alloys. Their fusion reactor was primitive and their weapons were nothing more than basic projectile systems with minimal energy output. The humans had even sent detailed plans of their entire ship as if they were children showing off a simple toy. "These creatures are either very brave or very stupid," Korath said to his tactical officer. "They claim to represent a species that achieved space travel only 200 years ago. Look at these technical specifications. They are still using chemical rockets for atmospheric flight, and their fastest ships can barely reach half-light speed." The tactical officer reviewed the human data with professional interest. "Admiral, their defensive systems are almost non-existent. Basic energy shields that could not stop our weakest weapons. Their hull armor is standard metal plating that our cutting beams could slice through like paper. They have no stealth technology and no advanced sensors." Korath laughed as he read more of the human information. These people had sent him everything, including their population numbers and the locations of their colonies. They even included detailed maps of their star system and the positions of their defensive installations. It was like dealing with children who had never learned that the galaxy was a dangerous place. "They list their total military as fewer than 1,000 ships." Korath continued reading. "Most of them are transports and mining vessels. They have perhaps 50 actual warships, and all of them are smaller than our escort fighters. How did such a weak species ever survive long enough to reach the stars?" Back on the New Horizon, Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh made careful adjustments to systems that did not appear on any of the technical specifications they had transmitted to the aliens. Hidden deep within the ship were technologies that had taken humanity decades to develop in secret. The fusion reactor that the aliens could detect was real, but it powered only the basic ship functions. The real power source was something the aliens had never seen before. Dr. Alex Kim monitored readings from sensors that existed in dimensions the aliens could not detect. The quantum field generators were running smoothly, and the dimensional phase shifters were ready for activation. Everything the aliens thought they knew about human technology was carefully designed. Misdirection. Navigation Officer Kate Brooks calculated coordinates for a jump that would take them somewhere the aliens would never expect. The quantum tunnel drive was humanity's greatest secret, and it worked on principles that most species considered impossible, while other civilizations had focused on making faster ships. Humans had learned to step outside normal space entirely. Admiral, the human vessel is charging what appears to be their primitive faster than light drive, reported the Zephyrian sensor operator. Energy readings suggest a standard hyperspace jump system. Very basic and slow. Let them run like frightened animals, Korath said with satisfaction. Tag their quantum signature so we can track them wherever they go. We will hunt them down at our leisure and add their pathetic world to the Empire. Send word to the Emperor that we have discovered another primitive species ripe for conquest. Jake Morrison looked around his bridge one last time, before giving the order that would change everything. His crew appeared calm, but he knew they were all thinking about their families back on Earth. They had trained for this moment, but facing an actual alien warship was different. From running simulations, all stations report. Ready for dimensional transition, Kate announced from her navigation console. Ryan, are our special systems fully operational? Jake asked. All hidden systems are green, Captain, Ryan replied. The aliens have no idea what they are really looking at. Lisa, did you make sure our data transmission included the tracking beacon? Yes, sir, Lisa confirmed. They think they are tracking us, but the beacon will lead them exactly where we want them to go. Jake took a deep breath and gave the order that would begin humanity's fight for freedom in a galaxy ruled by empires. Initiate quantum phase transition. Take us to the rally point. The new horizon vanished from normal space in a flash of light that seemed completely ordinary to the Zephyrian sensors. Admiral Korath watched with satisfaction as the primitive human ship fled, using what appeared to be a basic hyperspace drive. He had no idea that he had just encountered the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever produced. Humanity had been waiting and preparing for this moment for far longer than any alien could imagine. Admiral Korath stood proudly on the bridge of his massive warship as reports came in from across the sector. The human vessel had vanished into hyperspace just as expected, and his tracking systems were following their quantum signature perfectly. The primitive aliens were fleeing toward what appeared to be an empty region of space far from any civilized worlds. Soon he would corner them and demonstrate the price of resisting the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral, we are receiving strange reports from patrol ships throughout the sector, his communications officer announced with confusion in her voice. Several vessels are reporting equipment malfunctions and sensor ghosts. The crews claim they are seeing ships that disappear when they try to get a closer look. Korath dismissed the reports with a wave of his hand. Nervous crews seeing shadows after hearing about the alien contact. Focus on tracking our fleeing humans. They cannot hide from Zephyrian technology forever. 3 star systems away, Captain Jake Morrison materialized on the bridge of the Deep Strike in a flash of blue light. The quantum teleportation technology was one of humanity's greatest achievements, but it remained completely invisible to alien sensors. Commander Ben Taylor welcomed him aboard the stealth reconnaissance vessel that had been watching Zephyrian fleet movements for weeks without being detected once. Jake, good to see you made it safely, Ben said as they shook hands. The quantum tunnel worked perfectly. How did the first contact go? Exactly as planned, Jake replied with satisfaction. They think we are a primitive species with basic technology. Admiral Korath is following our tracking beacon, while his fleet spreads out to search for more human ships. They have no idea how many of us are already watching them. Ben led Jake to the main tactical display where holographic images showed the positions of Zephyrian ships across dozens of star systems. The Deep Strike had been using advanced stealth technology to observe alien patrol routes for months. Every ship movement was recorded and analyzed by human computers that processed information faster than any alien system. Their tactics are predictable because they have never faced an enemy that could match their technology, Ben explained as he pointed to the display. They send large ships in straight lines between planets and always use the same communication frequencies. They patrol on schedules that never change, and they keep their fleets bunched together for maximum firepower. Jake studied the alien movements with growing confidence. The Zephyrians were powerful, but they fought like an empire that had faced no real challenges for centuries. Their ships were heavily armed but slow to change direction. Their communications were encrypted, but they used the same codes for months at a time. Most importantly, they had no experience fighting an enemy they could not see. How long before they realize we have been watching them? Jake asked. They still have no idea we exist, Ben replied. Our stealth systems work on principles their science cannot detect. We could park this ship next to their flagship, and they would never know we were there. On the scientific vessel, quantum pioneer Dr. Alex Kim worked alongside Captain Maria Santos to analyze everything humans had learned about Zephyrian technology. The aliens were advanced, but their development had followed predictable paths. They had focused on building bigger ships with more powerful weapons, while humans had learned to think differently about warfare itself. Their energy shields operate on standard frequency harmonics, Alex explained to Maria as they reviewed the data. Our resonance disruptors can overload their defensive systems in seconds. Their hull armor is strong against conventional weapons, but it cannot handle quantum phase weapons that attack the molecular structure directly. Maria nodded as she studied the tactical implications. What about their faster-than-light drives? Can we match their speed? We do not need to match their speed, Alex replied with a smile. Our quantum tunnel drives let us appear anywhere instantly, while their hyperspace jumps take hours to calculate and execute. By the time they arrive at a location, we can already be there waiting for them. The humans had spent 2 centuries preparing for this encounter, while the rest of the galaxy remained unaware of their existence. Earth scientists had studied every piece of alien technology they could find from ancient ruins and crashed ships. They had developed weapons and defenses, specifically designed to counter the standard military doctrines used by galactic empires. Human ships could phase in and out of normal space, making them impossible to target with conventional weapons. Their communications used quantum entanglement that could not be intercepted or jammed. Most importantly, their manufacturing systems could produce new ships and weapons faster than any empire could replace. Losses. Admiral Korath received his first real warning when the patrol ship Crimson Blade reported total system failure while investigating an empty asteroid field. The crew described seeing a small ship that appeared for only seconds before vanishing again. When engineering teams tried to repair the damage, they found microscopic devices throughout their computer systems. How did primitive humans place sabotage devices on our ships? Korath demanded angrily. Our patrols have been nowhere near their star system. The chief engineer studied the tiny machines with growing alarm. Admiral, these devices are far more advanced than anything in our databases. They appear to be self-replicating, and they have completely rewritten our navigation computers. I do not think the humans built these. Then who did? Korath asked. I do not know, sir, but whoever made them understands our technology better than we do. More reports arrived throughout the day. Ships across the sector were experiencing mysterious failures that left them stranded or flying in circles. Communication relays were being jammed by signals that seemed to come from empty space. Most disturbing of all, several patrol crews reported brief encounters with ships that matched no known design in Imperial databases. Captain Morrison reviewed the progress reports from dozens of human vessels that were systematically dismantling Zephyrian operations across 5 star systems. The nanoprobe attacks were working perfectly, and alien ships were being disabled faster than the Empire could send reinforcements. More importantly, the aliens still had no idea what was happening to them. Ben, how many of their ships have we tagged with nanoprobes? Jake asked. Nearly 300, Ben replied. Every time they send out a patrol, we follow them and plant more devices. Their entire fleet will be compromised within days, and they still think we are a single primitive ship fleeing through hyperspace. The tracking beacon is leading them exactly where we want them. Admiral Korath is gathering his forces for what he thinks will be an easy hunt while we position our ships for the real battle. Jake looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity was about to reveal itself to a galaxy that had no idea what was coming. Admiral Korath paced nervously across his bridge as another disturbing report reached him from the Outer Rim territories. The patrol ship Golden Spear had gone completely silent after investigating what sensors showed as empty space. When rescue ships arrived, they found the vessel drifting, powerless with its entire crew unconscious, and all computer systems displaying error messages in an unknown language. This cannot be the work of a single, primitive human ship. Korath muttered to himself as he studied the growing list of incidents. Something else is happening here, and we are missing important information. His tactical officer approached with yet another troubling update. Admiral, we have lost contact with 17 ships in the past 48 hours. The pattern makes no sense. Ships are being disabled across multiple star systems with no visible enemy and no distress calls. Our engineers cannot explain how the attacks are being carried out. Emperor Vaxon the Eternal received Admiral Korath panicked transmission with growing fury. From his throne aboard the massive command ship Eternal Dominion, the Emperor had ruled 1,000 worlds for 300 years. Never before had any species dared to challenge Zephyrian authority with such brazen attacks on Imperial vessels. Impossible, the Emperor declared as he reviewed the tactical reports. No primitive civilization possesses the technology to disable our ships without being detected. Deploy the Third Imperial Fleet immediately and crush these upstart humans before they can cause more trouble. Your Majesty, perhaps we should investigate further before committing. Our main battle fleet, suggested Admiral Thane, who commanded the Palace Guard. These attacks do not match any known tactics in our military databases. We may be facing an enemy we do not understand. The Emperor silenced Thane with a deadly glare. I have conquered 50 species and destroyed a dozen rebel fleets. No collection of primitive humans can stand against the full might of the Empire. Send 1,000 ships to end this embarrassment once and for all. Deep in the hidden depths of space, the human mobile command base Hidden Sanctuary existed partially outside normal dimensions. The massive vessel served as headquarters for humanity's secret military operations and housed technologies that pushed the boundaries of known science. General Patricia Hayes studied holographic displays showing Zephyrian fleet movements across half the galaxy. They are moving exactly as our behavioral models predicted, Patricia announced to the assembled human command staff. Emperor Vaxon is committing his reserve fleets from the core worlds. They still believe this is a conventional military engagement. Between fleets of ships, Captain. Morrison materialized on the command deck using quantum teleportation, technology that had taken human scientists 50 years to perfect. He carried data crystals containing detailed intelligence gathered by dozens of human reconnaissance vessels that had been shadowing Zephyrian operations for months. Patricia, the alien response is even better than we hoped, Jake reported as he handed over the intelligence files. They are concentrating over 1,000 ships for what they think will be a decisive battle. Every major fleet commander in the Empire is being drawn into our trap. Dr. Alex Kim appeared beside them, carrying the final calculations for humanity master strategy. The quantum mathematics required to coordinate attacks across multiple dimensions had challenged even the most brilliant human minds, but the equations were finally complete. The dimensional resonance patterns are locked in, Alex announced with satisfaction. We can now phase entire battle groups in and out of normal space, while maintaining perfect coordination between our forces. The aliens will never know what hit them. Patricia smiled as she reviewed the tactical projections. Human ships numbered only 50 compared to the 1,000-vessel Zephyrian armada, but numbers meant nothing when your enemy could not see you coming. Each human vessel carried weapons that operated on principles the aliens had never encountered and defensive systems that made them virtually impossible to destroy. How long before their main fleet reaches the target coordinates? Patricia asked. 6 hours, Jake replied. Admiral Korath is leading them straight to the Proxima Centauri system, where they expect to find our homeworld defended by a handful of primitive ships. And what will they actually find there? The most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. Commander Ben Taylor monitored alien communications from his stealth ship as the massive Zephyrian fleet moved through hyperspace toward what they believed would be humanity's final stand. The aliens were confident and eager for battle after weeks of mysterious attacks on their patrol ships. They had no idea that every word they spoke was being recorded and analyzed by human intelligence systems. Jake, their fleet commanders, are discussing tactics for planetary bombardment. Ben reported over quantum communication links. They plan to destroy all human colonies as an example to other species who might think about resisting the Empire. That confirms they still have no idea what we are really capable of. Jake replied from the Hidden Sanctuary. They think we are refugees hiding behind our homeworld defenses instead of the hunters who have been stalking them for months. The human fleet moved into final positions using quantum tunnel drives that allowed them to appear anywhere instantly without being detected. Each ship carried crews who had trained their entire lives for this moment when humanity would reveal itself to a galaxy that had never imagined such technological advancement was possible. Captain Morrison transferred to his original ship the New Horizon, which had been specially modified for the coming battle. The vessel now carried weapons that could phase enemy ships into parallel dimensions and defensive systems that made it immune to conventional attacks. Most importantly, it carried a message that would be broadcast to every world in the galaxy when the battle ended. All ships report ready for dimensional phase combat, announced Navigation Officer Kate Brooks from her station. Quantum tunnel coordinates are locked and our stealth systems are functioning perfectly. Patricia, this is Jake, he transmitted to the hidden sanctuary. The New Horizon is in position and ready to begin the demonstration. Jake, this is Patricia. All human forces are ready. Show the galaxy what happens when an empire tries to enslave a free people. Admiral Korath emerged from hyperspace with his mighty fleet expecting to find a small human world protected by primitive defenses. Instead, he found what appeared to be an empty star system with only a few small ships scattered throughout the outer regions. The human vessels looked exactly like the primitive exploration ship his forces had encountered weeks earlier. Finally, we have them cornered, Korath announced triumphantly. Destroy every human ship and prepare to bombard their planet. The Empire will make an example of these rebels that will be remembered for 1,000 years. The Admiral had no idea that he was about to become part of a very different kind of example that would indeed be remembered for 1,000 years. The first shots of the Battle of Proxima Centauri echoed across space as Admiral Korath ordered his 1,000-ship fleet to open fire on the scattered human vessels. Massive energy beams reached across millions of kilometers toward targets that appeared to be sitting defenseless in the void. The Zephyrian weapons were powerful, enough to crack planets and had never failed to destroy any enemy they were aimed at. The energy beams passed harmlessly through the human ships as if they were made of nothing but light and shadow. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the New Horizon as alien weapons fire went right through his vessel without causing any damage at all. The quantum phase technology that kept them partially outside normal space made conventional attacks completely useless. All ships are reporting 0 damage from the alien bombardment, announced Communications Officer Lisa Chang with amazement in her voice. Their weapons cannot touch us while we remain in quantum phase. Admiral Korath stared in disbelief as his most powerful weapons failed to affect the tiny human ships. How is this possible? He demanded from his weapons officer. Our energy cannons can destroy asteroids. Why are they having no effect on these primitive vessels? Admiral, the energy beams are passing through the targets as if they do not exist. The weapons officer replied with confusion. Our sensors show the ships are there, but our weapons cannot make contact with them. Before Korath could respond, the human ships began their counterattack. The New Horizon materialized inside the shields of his flagship, having somehow appeared directly through the Zephyrian barrier systems. Captain Morrison had used quantum tunnel technology to bypass every defense the aliens possessed. The human ship fired weapons that Admiral Korath had never seen before. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, the New Horizon released controlled gravitational waves that twisted space itself around the Zephyrian flagship. Sections of the massive alien warship were pulled into parallel dimensions, while other parts remained in normal space, creating catastrophic structural failures that tore the vessel apart from within. Across the battlefield, human ships appeared and vanished like ghosts, striking with weapons that defied every law of physics the aliens understood. Commander Ben Taylor materialized his ship Deep Strike in the middle of a Zephyrian battle formation and released clouds of nanoscale devices that convinced the alien computers their own ships were enemy vessels. The confused Zephyrian ships began firing on each other while Ben vanished back into quantum phase. Dr. Alex Kim piloted the science vessel, Quantum Pioneer, through a group of alien cruisers while creating temporal distortion fields around enemy ships. The Zephyrian vessels found themselves trapped in bubbles of slow-moving time, where their weapons fired at 1/10 normal speed while human ships moved at full velocity around them. Captain Maria Santos commanded the assault ship Thunderstrike as it phase-shifted through the hull of an alien dreadnought. Her crew fired quantum disruptor weapons that attacked the molecular bonds holding the enemy ship together. The mighty Zephyrian warship simply fell apart as its atoms forgot how to stay connected to each other. This is impossible. Admiral Korath screamed as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy he could not hit. No species in the galaxy possesses such technology. Who are these humans and where did they come from? His tactical officer tried desperately to find some way to fight back against weapons that seemed to ignore the basic laws of reality. Admiral, our sensors cannot track their ships when they phase out of normal space. They appear to be using some form of dimensional shifting technology that our science says should be impossible. General Patricia Hayes coordinated the human attack from the hidden sanctuary while monitoring communications from the panicking Zephyrian fleet. The aliens were trained to fight enemies who used conventional weapons and tactics. They had no defense against ships that could appear anywhere instantly, and weapons that attacked the fundamental structure of matter itself. All human vessels report successful engagement, Patricia announced to her command staff. Enemy casualties are running at over 70% while we have suffered 0 losses. The alien fleet is beginning to break formation and retreat. Captain Morrison pursued fleeing Zephyrian ships as they desperately tried to escape the nightmare that had engulfed their mighty fleet. His weapons officer Ryan Walsh targeted the enemy vessels with quantum cascade weapons that created chain reactions in their power systems. One by one, the fleeing ships exploded as their own reactors turned against them. "Jake, this is Ben," came the transmission from the deep strike. "I have disabled their command ship, but Admiral Korath is still alive. He is requesting permission to surrender." "Accept his surrender," Jake replied. "We need prisoners who can tell the Empire what happened here." Navigation Officer Kate Brooks tracked the handful of Zephyrian ships that had managed to escape the battle. Less than 50 vessels out of a 1,000-ship fleet were limping away from Proxima, Centauri carrying news of a defeat so complete that no one would believe their reports. Dr. Kim analyzed the battlefield debris while human ships moved among the wreckage looking for survivors. The technology demonstration had been even more successful than their most optimistic projections. An entire Imperial fleet had been destroyed in less than 20 minutes by weapons the aliens could not understand or defend against. "Patricia, this is Alex," she transmitted to the command ship. "Analysis of the alien technology confirms our tactical assessments. Their ships are powerful, but they rely entirely on conventional physics. They have no defense against quantum phase weapons or dimensional manipulation attacks." "How long before the Empire realizes what they are really facing?" Patricia asked. "The surviving ships will reach Imperial space in 3 days," Alex replied, "when they report that a 1,000-ship fleet was destroyed by 50 human vessels using impossible technology. The Empire will have to face the truth about what we really are." Admiral Korath sat in the detention cell aboard the human ship New Horizon as Captain Morrison prepared to send him back to Zephyrian space with a message for Emperor Vaxon. The proud admiral, who had commanded fleets for decades, was now a broken man who had witnessed the destruction of everything he believed about galactic military power. "Captain Morrison, how long has your species possessed such advanced technology?" Korath asked quietly. "Longer than your empire has existed, Admiral," Jake replied. "We have been preparing for this day since before your people first reached the stars. Why did you wait so long to reveal yourselves?" "Because we wanted to be absolutely certain we could win." Jake looked out at the stars where human ships were already moving toward their next targets. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 1,000 worlds, but that was about to change very quickly. Emperor Vaxon the Eternal stood frozen in his throne room as the surviving ships from Admiral Korath fleet limped back to Imperial space carrying news that seemed impossible to believe. The reports claimed that humanity had destroyed nearly 1,000 Zephyrian warships using weapons that defied all known science and tactics that no military academy had ever taught. "This cannot be true," the Emperor declared, as he read the battle reports for the 3rd time. "No primitive species could possess technology advanced enough to defeat our finest fleet. These survivors must be suffering from some form of battle madness that has affected their ability to think clearly." Admiral Thane studied the detailed sensor recordings that the fleeing ships had managed to preserve during their escape. The data showed human vessels phasing in and out of normal space while firing weapons that seemed to manipulate the basic forces of reality itself. The evidence was overwhelming, but it challenged everything the Empire believed about galactic civilization. "Your Majesty, the sensor data has been verified by our best scientists," Thane reported grimly. "The humans are using technology that our science says should be theoretically impossible. They can appear anywhere instantly, and their weapons attack matter at the quantum level. We have never encountered anything like this before." Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon as human fleets moved through Zephyrian space like shadows in the night. The quantum tunnel drives allowed them to strike targets across dozens of star systems simultaneously, while remaining completely invisible to alien sensors. Within days of the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the mighty empire was collapsing from within. Communication Officer Lisa Chung monitored the growing panic in Zephyrian transmissions as reports poured in from across their territory. Military bases were being disabled by invisible attackers. Patrol fleets were vanishing without trace. Most terrifying of all, no one could predict where the humans would strike next. "Captain, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 different star systems," Lisa announced with amazement. "Local governors are asking for terms rather than face whatever happened." To the 3rd Imperial Fleet, Dr. Alex Kim worked alongside teams of human scientists to analyze the complete technical databases they had captured from disabled Zephyrian ships. The alien technology was impressive within its limitations, but it had developed along predictable paths that human strategists had anticipated years in advance. Their entire civilization is built around the concept of overwhelming force, Alex explained to Captain Morrison. They have the biggest ships and the most powerful weapons, but they have never learned to think creatively about warfare. When faced with tactics they cannot understand, they simply panic and retreat. General Patricia Hayes coordinated the systematic dismantling of Zephyrian military power from her command ship, Hidden Sanctuary. Human forces were appearing throughout the Empire, carrying out precision strikes that left alien fleets helpless, while avoiding harm to civilian populations. The goal was not conquest, but liberation. "Jake, the Imperial core worlds are requesting a ceasefire," Patricia reported over quantum communications. "Emperor Vaxon wants to negotiate terms for ending the conflict." "What are our terms?" Morrison asked as he watched another Zephyrian fleet surrender without firing a shot. Complete dissolution of the Empire and establishment of a galactic confederation based on cooperation rather than domination. Every world gets to choose its own government, and no species will ever again be forced to serve another. The Emperor received humanity terms with a mixture of rage and despair. For 3 centuries he had ruled absolutely over 1,000 worlds, collecting tribute and crushing any resistance with overwhelming military force. Now he was being told that his empire would be dissolved and his authority would end forever. "They want me to surrender unconditionally and give up everything my ancestors built," Vaxon said to his remaining advisors. "How can I agree to such humiliation?" "Your Majesty, we have lost contact with over half our fleets," Admiral Thane replied honestly. "The humans are destroying our military faster than we can even count the losses. If we do not surrender now, there may be nothing left to surrender later. But who are these humans, and why are they so much more advanced than us? How did a species we never heard of develop such incredible technology?" Admiral Korath answered that question when he was returned to the Imperial capital aboard a human diplomatic vessel. The proud military commander who had once commanded fleets was now a humbled prisoner carrying a message that would change galactic history forever. "The humans have been watching us for over 3,000 years, Korath explained to the shocked Emperor. "They achieved interstellar flight before our empire was even founded, but they chose to remain hidden while studying every species in the galaxy. They have been preparing for this confrontation since the day we first conquered another world." "Impossible," the Emperor protested. "Our records show no evidence of human civilization existing that long ago." "They did not want to be found until they were ready," Korath continued. "Every crashed ship we investigated and every ancient ruin we studied was providing them with information about our technology and tactics. They learned everything about us while we learned nothing about them." Captain Susan Parker of the human diplomatic vessel New Dawn arrived at the Imperial capital carrying the formal terms for ending the war. The Emperor had expected to meet with primitive representatives who could be intimidated or bribed. Instead, he found himself facing a woman whose quiet confidence suggested she represented a civilization far older and wiser than his own. "Your Majesty, my government is prepared to be generous in victory," Captain Parker announced as she presented the surrender documents. "Your people will be allowed to keep their homeworld and govern themselves peacefully. All we ask is that the Empire officially dissolve and that every conquered world be given the freedom to choose its own path." "And if I refuse these terms," the Emperor asked, "then we will continue demonstrating why resistance is futile until you change your mind." Parker replied calmly, "We have been patient for 3,000 years. We can be patient a little longer." Emperor Vaxon the Eternal signed the surrender documents 3 days later, aboard the human ship New Dawn. As he put his name to the papers that ended his empire forever, he asked Captain Parker one final question that had been haunting him since. The first reports of human technology reached his court. How long had you been watching us before we discovered your exploration ship, Sarker? Smiled as she looked out at the stars that now belonged to a free galaxy where every species could determine its own destiny. Since the day you first achieved interstellar flight, Your Majesty, we have been preparing for this conversation for over 3,000 years. The unknown ship that had appeared and vanished had never been just one vessel. It was humanity itself revealing its true nature to a galaxy that had forgotten what freedom meant. The Empire had fallen not to superior numbers or bigger weapons, but to a species that understood patience and preparation better than any civilization in galactic history.